According to reports, a former New York Knicks player and Tom Thibodeau favorite is available. And headed into training camp tomorrow, the New York Knicks have one final roster spot remaining. And they could use it and fill it with this former New York Knicks player. We're going to break down the report, see who this player is, and see how realistic it is that he joins the New York Knicks headed into next season. And speaking of next season, what is the final roster for the New York Knicks? We're going to break that down and see exactly what players are on two-way deals. We're going to look into this and so much more today. Let's get started. Reggie Bullock, a former New York Knicks player, could make his New York Knicks return. Shout out to Shams for tweeting out the following and giving us this update. According to Shams from The Athletic, the San Antonio Spurs and the veteran wing Reggie Bullock have agreed to a contract buyout. Bullock is set to enter free agency where several championship contenders and playoff teams will pursue him. Reggie Bullock and Tom Thibodeau is another match made in heaven. As soon as Tom Thibodeau probably heard that Reggie Bullock was available, it was probably music to his ears. If you remember the time when Reggie was a Knick, he had a very close relationship not only with Tom Thibodeau, but with one of the leaders on this team in Julius Randle. Do you guys remember? Dribble handoff, Randle to Reggie Bullock. Randle would set a screen, freeing up Bullock, and then he would shoot a three, normally hitting that three because he was one of the better three-point shooters for the New York Knicks when he was on the squad. The Knicks need shooting. The Knicks need somebody who has chemistry with some of the players on the team already, and they need somebody who's a good defender. Not to mention, at the wing position, they really don't have anybody they can interchange with RJ Barrett, who really is your wing headed into next season because he's playing that three spot. So for all those reasons, I absolutely think the New York Knicks are probably on the phone right now, seeing what it would take to get Reggie Bullock on this team. Obviously, they have to think about contract. They have to think about role. They don't want to just get him over here and have him play 5 minutes. They probably want him to play a significant role. The problem is, if you play Reggie Bullock significant minutes, you're going to take away minutes from somebody else. RJ Barrett, Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes. Somebody is losing minutes. And the problem is, you've paid Josh Hart. You don't want to lose minutes from Quentin Grimes, somebody who you could argue is probably going to take another leap and another step this year. So you don't want to slow down his growth by affecting his minutes as well too. So the Knicks are going to have to be careful about who they add with this final roster spot headed into training camp, because they definitely need more depth at the wing spot. They need another three-point shooter, and they definitely need another defender, especially when other players are not in the game. Josh Hart is one of their better defenders. Quentin Grimes is one of their better defenders. And Emmanuel Quickley, one of their better defenders. But if they're not in the game, the Knicks are going to struggle on that end. That's why a guy like Reggie Bullock is somebody you can just plug in and expect that from, because that's what he does. And under Tom Thibodeau, I think he could thrive in that role. I don't know how many minutes he would play for the New York Knicks. Maybe he plays, I don't know, 15, 16 minutes maybe. Depends on the night. Some nights maybe he plays more if we need him. Maybe some nights he plays less if we don't need him, or one of the young guys are going off and getting a really good tear on with their game. We have to watch the game and look at it before we make changes. But with Tom Thibodeau, I may be asking a lot, because oftentimes he doesn't ride the hot hand, and also sometimes he feels like he makes adjustments based on system plays, not based on anything else, because normally you'll make adjustments based on the other team. For him, it seems like he makes adjustments based off of minutes and time, and I don't know why he does that. Sometimes it feels that way, and I personally don't like it. And according to Sportskeeda, they actually list the New York Knicks as one of the top landing spots for Reggie Bullock. They state, Reggie Bullock having played for the Knicks for 2 seasons, Bullock would probably love to play again in the Big Apple, where he averaged 10.9 points in the 2020-2021 season. And they're probably not wrong. He probably does want to make a return to the Garden. He probably loved the crowd, loved the love that he got from the crowd, and also loved the teammates that he had. Randle's still there, so he remembers that relationship. Obviously, he has a relationship with Tom Thibodeau. He remembers some of the young guys who are still there. RJ Barrett definitely remembers him. So clearly, there are connections, there's relationships, and I think that's going to make the difference in where he goes. And that's why, folks, I would buckle up and get ready. because sooner or later that announcement's going to come that Reggie Bullock has signed with the New York Knicks, and it's not going to be a surprise. The only surprise is going to be how many minutes he's going to play. He's probably going to come off the bench for the New York Knicks. He's probably going to give them solid key minutes off the bench, especially defensively, especially with Tom Thibodeau as his head coach. We're going to see those type of moments. I absolutely believe that. But one of the things you have to watch as well with Tom Thibodeau is the adjustments he's going to make with these new players. I haven't seen Tom Thibodeau have Donte DiVincenzo, Josh Hart to start the season, Reggie Bullock to start the season with all these players. It's going to be very interesting to see what lineups he actually throws out there. I think with Tom Thibodeau, he's going to go with experience. Everything that Tom Thibodeau knows, he's going to go with. He hasn't seen Donte DiVincenzo with this lineup yet. He hasn't seen Josh Hart to an extent with this entire lineup yet healthy. And to an extent, he hasn't seen Reggie Bullock and what he can do with this lineup as constructed. So because of that, regardless of the additions and who they add for that final roster spot, it doesn't really matter because I think Tom Thibodeau is always going to go with what he knows. So expect to see more or less the same type of starting unit that you saw last year closing out games. Same thing with the starting unit that you saw starting games. I think Tom Thibodeau is going to go ahead and lean on that until something happens that changes his mindset and makes him make an adjustment. And we've seen him take about 20, 25 games, watch what happens, watch how players act and how they respond to certain things, and then use that as a basis to make adjustments. And normally if he does that in about 20 to 25 games in, that's likely the only adjustments he's going to make. Once that happens, that's likely the lineup he's going to be locked with until the season ends or until potential injury forces him to change it. Barring that, that's likely what you're going to see because that's what we've seen from Tom Thibodeau each and every year. And thinking that he would break away from that tradition now is a little bit foolish in my opinion. The New York Knicks training camp roster. What does it look like? And really, what is it? Well, let's go into that because a lot of fans were asking me on social media, what is the Knicks' final roster going into training camp? Who do they have on the roster? Who are on two-way deals? What's going on, Troy? Well, let's look into it. Here is the New York Knicks 2023-2024 training camp roster. These players on guaranteed contracts. Shout out to DailyKnicks.com for helping reporting the following. Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel Quickley, Miles McBride, Quentin Grimes, Donte DiVincenzo, Evan Fournier, Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jericho Sims. New York has 12 players on guaranteed contracts and could add 3 more before the start of the season. Here are the players that are on two-way contracts headed into training camp. You have Dylan Windler, Nathan Knight, and Jalen Martin. And remember, guys, these potential players can be converted into a standard NBA deal by the New York Knicks. One player on that list that I argue the Knicks should do that for is Nathan Knight. A power forward. He came from Minnesota. He's used to playing minimal minutes, and I think he would be a great backup behind Julius Randle. Finally, we're going to move on to the training camp contracts that we currently have. Those go as the following. Ryan Arcidiacono, Dwayne Washington Jr., Jacob Toppin, and Charlie Brown Jr. Now, according to Sports Illustrated, New York will sign at least 2 players to guaranteed deals before the season starts. And based on pure speculation, those 2 players could be Ryan Arcidiacono and Daquan Jeffries. Arcidiacono already has a Knicks background, and Tom Thibodeau has spoken very highly of him. Now, this article was written a little bit before Reggie Bullock and the Spurs had a buyout. Now, with this buyout happening and Reggie Bullock being available, I think you have to insert Reggie Bullock's name into that particular potential person that could join the New York Knicks on this roster. Yes, maybe Daquan Jeffries and Ryan Arcidiacono were the favorites before. Now I argue it's Ryan Arcidiacono and Reggie Bullock because I think Reggie Bullock complements this team. He adds exactly what this team needs. Whether you like him or you hate him, he could come here on a minimum deal, so that benefits everybody, especially the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau loves him. And of course, one of your leaders, Julius Randle, definitely has a friendship with him. Loved when he was on the New York Knicks. And those two played very well together when they both were part of the New York Knicks. So because of all of that, you have to include Reggie Bullock as a potential name to watch for the New York Knicks to sign to a guaranteed deal headed into training camp and next season. But let me know what you think, guys. Will Reggie Bullock take one of the final roster spots and get guaranteed money from the New York Knicks? Or will the New York Knicks sign another player? Let me know in the comments below, because honestly, guys, I would love to hear from you. But until next time, guys, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knick fans. Peace.